Hello everyone, I'm Bianca, and together with my colleague Joy, we are part of the Surface Duo DevX team at Microsoft. And our job is to make developers' lives easier when enhancing their already existing applications to the dual screen experience. You can find us on GitHub, where we have samples and application examples which showcase our libraries, and also our open source libraries, which are now in beta 1 starting from last week. And in case you have any questions or just want to connect with us, you can also find us on Twitter. Before diving in, I would like to explore together the dual screen world and see their advantages. And doing so, let's also introduce the Surface Duo device, which was launched this year in the second half. As we can see, it resembles our work environment from the office or now from home, with two screens in order for us to be more productive in a mobile way, because it's not stuck to the desktop, to the desk. So we can have two applications open side by side at the same time for more content but less context switching. And also drag and drop is more useful because we can move content from one application to the other, such as images, text, or files. We can also have applications which are enhanced for two screens by spanning them. So you can drag the bar at the bottom, bring it to the middle, and then just let it go so it can take the shape of the device. Therefore, we can take advantage of the application features much more. The dual screen foldables devices are super flexible. For example, the Surface Duo is going from 0 degrees to 360. You can also get this value in case you want to do some creative stuff with it. So thanks to its flexibility, we also have multiple postures. So beside the portrait and landscape orientations, we also have dual portrait and dual landscape. And now let's talk about some terminology in order for all of us to speak the same language. So when the application covers both screens, we call it spans. So as I said, by dragging the bar to the middle of the device. We also call the space in between the screens the seam or the hinge for the hinge devices. And also one consideration that we need to take into account is that when the application is spanned, device landscape means that the app is in portrait mode, and device portrait means that the application is in landscape mode. This is very useful for qualifiers resources. Now let's talk about the software a bit. So Surface Duo runs Android 10. The OS team is working hard to go for Android 11 soon. And you can use your preferred programming language or framework. So from Java, Kotlin, Xamarin, Unity, Flutter, React Native, and PW8 from the World Wide Web. But we also have samples using the new UI framework from Android, Jetpack Compose. For each of these technologies, we have documentations and to get you started for developing apps for dual screen devices. And we're also closely collaborating with our partners to bring more components to the libraries. So expect more versions from us soon. You can also download the Duo emulator, install your application, play with it, see how it behaves. Now, let's talk about some user experience patterns for the dual screen apps. We have found this to be the most used ones, but there are also multiple others. So now let's go from one to the other to see which one fits your application more. So extended canvas represents an entire set of pixels displayed in one place. It's used for maps applications, so you can see multiple locations at the same time. For drawing, to have a larger virtual board, and also for spreadsheets to prevent horizontal or vertical scrolling. Then the list detail pattern shows a list of items on one side and the selection on the other. It's already implemented in the Outlook application, but it's also used for to-do, scheduling, photos or collections, or other mail applications. So you can see the thread of the mails in one place by just rotating the screen. Then the two-page pattern makes the device resemble a real-life book because you can flip the pages, but it's also used for any text content, so magazines, articles, or just shopping, long shopping lists for Christmas. The dual view pattern displays the same object in two different ways, so we can have content and context at the same time. For example, if we're having a real estate application, we want to show the users also all the options they have. But right on the other screen, we can also display a map. So the user can calculate how far is it from a supermarket or from the office. It's also very often encountered with before and after editing or code reviewing, and also for product comparison, so you can see pros and the cons. Then, last but not least, the companion pane pattern shows a list of controls on one side and the result on the other. We have found this oftenly used for gaming, so you can see where the magic happens, right where your controls are, but also for content creation tools. So in case you have a photo editing application, the user can add filters to the image, but also go promote, so change the contrast, change the brightness, and then make it ready for social media. Then let's continue our UX discussion with some considerations, because for hinge devices, there is the space in the middle that we need to take care to not render anything, so to not hide anything from the user. But we can also take advantage of it because it separates the two logical containers. So in case our application uses dialogues, we need to move them to one side or the other. The system dialogues are already handled. For drawers or button navigations, we can have the same approach or just split them by free on one side on the other side. For menus, we need to think of the position of the item and just add an offset to the menu so it goes above or below it, just so it doesn't intersect with the hinge. And for layouts, we can also have the same approach, or we can use different layouts for dual screen by very simply integrating with our libraries. Now, let's get practical and see how to enhance an existing app. So to get our application ready, we have 3 simple steps. First of all, we need to test the application using the Surface Duo emulator or the device, because it will just work running on one of the 2 screens. Then we can make it a bit better with using incremental changes through Android native libraries and frameworks, so it can connect with other apps or you take advantage of the second screen. And also now we can go hero and use the SDK, our SDK, or the Android Jetpack Window Manager API. And I want to mention that in our beta 1 version, we have also integrated with the Jetpack Window Manager. So you can take advantage of the device postures and its layout. Let's talk about the second step. So the first part of making incremental changes is drag and drop. Drag and drop has been here since the beginning of time, but it only started to make more sense from Android 7, so Android Nougat, because multi-window support was introduced, so you can have applications open side by side and just drag content from one to the other. Now, with the multiple factor devices, you can just have more space and use the content and move images and files around. For example, let's take a use case. We're all sending emails and just want to get them done as soon as possible. So we can get text from chats or images that are already prepared beforehand and drop them to the email app and just send the email. So now, in order to get a bit more technical, let's imagine that we have 2 applications. A drag application on one side with a text view and a drop application on the other side with an edit text and a clear button. So the drag action is actually a touch event of a long click. So we need to implement in our activity the long click listener. First of all, let's also set the tag for the text view, a simple tag, just text underscore view, and then set the on-click listener. Now for the implementation, we override the on-click method, on long click method, and then for the view, we need to check if it's the text view that we want. Then we create a clip data item with the content. And for the MIME type, we have chosen a MIME type text plain because it's a sample, but you can also use for images or other rich documents, for example. For data to share, we are building a clip data object with the tag that we have set before, so text, the underscore view, the MIME type, and the text. Now, in order to guide our user through the journey, we can also set a shadow using the drag shadow builder, and this is very recommended. And the flags that are mandatory, so drag flag global, and we have also set drag flag global URI red because we're only setting read permissions, but we can also set write. Then we just call the start drag and drop method with the parameters that we have set above. So data to share, drag shadow builder, the view, our text view, and the flags. Now let's go to the drop application. So we need to implement in our activity on drag listener with the set on drag listener to this, and then the on drag method that we're interested in, especially the drag event part, because we need to see which event is taking place right now. For action drag started, we can set a new background or change the text so we can show the user here your drag has started. We can also do this for drop started or other cases, and the action drop that we need to actually handle the drop here. So in order to handle the drop, first of all, we need to request the drag and drop permissions using the event that we receive as parameter. Then we just get the item that we have set before and get the content so we can set it in our edit text, which was on the right side with our data. And don't forget to release the drop permissions. In case we don't do that, when the activity is destroyed, this is done automatically. So this is very easy and simple. And for the second step of incremental changes, we have an even shorter version to launch to the second screen in order to take advantage of the second screen that is available to us. So you can open an activity there, but in case if it's not available, we can just have the activity opened above the one that is already displayed. So how to do that? As with every start activity, we need to create an intent with the context, so this, and a second activity class. Then we just add flags with multiple tasks or new tasks. This just creates a new task with the activity that we want, so second activity on top. And then we just start the activity. Very short and easy. So for the third step, that means spanning the application as I have explained before. We first need to determine which pattern that from the 5 ones is the most suitable for our application. In order to help you with this, we also have some hero apps. For example, the two-note app, which implements the list detail pattern, and also the source editor, which implements the dual view pattern. But there are also others on GitHub, so you can check them out. Now, for the practical steps, I will let Joy take over and give more details regarding.
Hello, thanks, Bianca. Hello, everyone. I'm Joy. So I'm going to show you how to implement the different dual screen UX and UI patterns. So Bianca have already presented us the 5 different patterns and their use cases. So now I'm going to provide you some strategy and tips on the implementation when coding. So the first one is the extended canvas. So as we mentioned before, it's a very perfect pattern for the maps. So with 2 screens, the user can view much bigger areas, and it's very easy for them to zoom in and zoom out. And the same for the spreadsheet. The user can view much more contents with both of the screens. And it also a good pattern for a drawing application. So the user can use fingers or pen to draw across both of the screens. So for this pattern, actually, it's very easy to implement. So what you need to do, just span your application and let your activity take over both of the screens. And that's it. The only thing you may need to be aware of is your content may be covered behind the hinge between two screens. So you might accommodate your UI to make sure you don't miss anything. The next one is two-page. As Bianca mentioned before, it's a perfect pattern for the reading application. So the pattern, when you open our Surface Studio device at the first time, you will feel like you are opening a book. So with this pattern, you can swipe the pages like you are doing with the real book. So the same as on the single screen device, you can build this pattern with one activity with the view pager. The only difference is when the app span into the dual screen, taking over both of the screens, you will have one fragment for the left screen, another fragment for the right screen. And there's a small tips here is when the device rotates into the landscape mode, you may adapt your view pager from the horizontal scrolling to the vertical scrolling, since you have more space to do that. Then for the list detail, as we mentioned, it's a perfect pattern for the email and gallery application, and dual view is good for the content comparison, and companion pane is good for the game control and image editor. For these three patterns, they are basically follow the same strategy. So what you need to do, just adapt your UI for both of the screens. So like here, you can use one activity with two fragments. So the tips here is use our Surface Studio layout from our dual screen libraries. So Surface Dual layout would help you handle the layout for the dual screen very easily with just few steps to integrate. So you can use one activity with two fragments, or one fragment with two different layouts, or one activity with two different layouts without fragments. Surface Dual layout would help you and support them all. You will see later. So now I'm going to show you some components that will make your dual screen development easy, which is also our job. The first one I'm going to show you is Jetpack Window Manager. So it's built by Google. Window Manager help application developers support the new device form factors, especially for the foldable device for this initial release. So to use Window Manager, you just need to import the dependency in your build grader file. As you can see here, currently the version of the Window Manager is Alpha 01, but Google is working on that. The new version will coming soon. So to use Jetpack Window Manager, they provide two main informations. The first one is the device state. So with the device state, you can know the posture of the device. So either the device is open or closed or flip, meaning two screens back to back facing outside, or half opened or just unknown. And another information with the Window Manager is the display feature. So with the display feature, you can know what type of the device you are running, either fold or hinge. So fold means the device with one foldable screen, and hinge means a device with two screens with the hinge between them, which is like Surface Duo device. And with display feature, you can also get the bounds of the physical display feature in the coordinate space of the window. So for the Surface Duo device, it will show us the coordinate of the hinge. So we can get list of the display feature through the window layout info. So now I'm going to show you how to use the window manager with the callback. So the first callback we can use is register device state change callback. So this callback will be called when the state of device change. For example, when your device is closed, and then when you open it, this callback will be called. Another one is register layout change callback. So this callback will be called when the layout of the windows of the current virtual context changes. So like the other callback, just don't forget to unregister them when you don't need them. So now I'm going to show you how to use window managers on the implementation when coding. So you can see here, in the main activity, we declare a private variable of the window manager. And in the onCreate, we initialize it with the instance of the window manager. And with this instance, we can register the callback with the device state change. So inside the callback, you can implement some layout to response when the value changes. But here, we just display a text showing the value of the portrait when it changes. Then inside on attached to window, we register another callback, which is the register layout change callback. So for service dual device, this callback would be called when the application span from the single screen to the dual screen, taking over both of the screens. So you may ask, why don't we register this callback with the first one in the onCreate? So according to Google's document, this callback can only be called after an activity attached to the windows. Otherwise, your app will crash with the current version of the window manager. So if you don't want to use the callback, we can do it on configuration change. So it will be called every time when the configuration changes. So inside that, we can access window layout info through the instance of the window manager. Then we can check the list of display features. If the list of display features inside the window layout info is empty, that means currently the app is running on the single screen device or in the single screen mode of the Surface Duo device. If the list of display feature is not empty, that means currently the app is spanned into the dual screen mode, taking both of the screen at the same time. So now let's run the sample on the device to see how it looks. So you can see here, the device state showing us the portrait is open. That means currently the device is opened. And then inside the window layout info, you can see the list of display feature is empty. So as I mentioned, it means the app is in the single screen mode, which we call it unspanned. If we span the app into the dual screen mode, taking both of the screen, now you can see the device state still stay the same. It's because we still keep the device open, but inside the window layout info, the value has changed. So now you can see the type of device, it shows hinge, yes, which is our Surface Duo device. And you also show us the list of display feature is not empty anymore. So that means the app is spanned. And also show us the bounds of the display feature and then which is the coordinate of our hinge. So when we rotate the device to the double landscape mode, you can see the device state is still stay the same, which is right. We still keep the device open and the device type is still a hinge. Yes, we don't change the device. And the list of display features is still not empty. because the app is still spanned. But there's one thing changed here. The bounce, which is the coordinate of the hinge, changes because it's based on the layout. So now I'm going to show you the dual screen library. As we keep mentioning, our job is make the development of the Surface Duo device easy. So that's why we build this library to help you out, including Surface Duo layout, Surface Duo frame layout, recycler view helper, button navigation, fragments handler, and tab layout. That would help you in different scenarios. So we just released a new version of the library, as Bianca just mentioned, which is based on the Jetpack window manager. So that means you can use all these libraries not only on our Surface Duo device, but also on the other foldable device, such as like Samsung or LG foldable device. Due to the time frame, today I'm just show you the Surface Duo layout. For the rest of the libraries, you can go to the link here to check out our documents and samples. Everything is well explained on our website. So, Surface Duo layout, as I said, it will help you to handle the layout from the single screen to the dual screen very easily with just few steps integrate. So it will create a single screen or dual screen container to hold your UI, which means you can have one layout for a single screen and two different layouts for each of the screen when the app span into the dual screen. So let's see the inner code. So in the main activity, we still set the layout activity main as the content view as usual. Then in the layout activity main, we are using the Surface Duo layout components. With that, we can have the ID called single screen layout ID, which is used to hold the layout for the single screen device or the single screen mode of the Surface Duo device. Then we also have another ID called dual screen star layout ID, which is used to hold the layout for the star screen, which is the left screen of the Surface Duo device. And the other ID we call dual screen end layout ID, which is used to hold the layout for the end screen, which is the right screen of the Surface Duo device. And we also provide you some tools to customize the display of the layout in the Android Studio. So we can set the hinge color to black or white, or set the dual screen mode. So if you set the dual screen mode as a single screen, you will see the layout for a single screen in the Android Studio. And if you set the dual screen mode as the dual screen, you can see two different layouts displayed in the same preview with the hinge between them. So now let's run that in the device. So you can see when the app's in the single screen mode, you will show the single screen layout we just defined with the single screen layout ID. And if the app was span into the dual screen mode, it shows the start layouts, the layout for the start screen on the left screen, and the layout for the end screen on the right-hand side. So if you have the similar scenario, I highly recommend you to go to our website to check out our documents and our open source code sample. Again, everything is well explained on our website. So now I'm going to show you how to do the UI test on the application on the Surface Duo device. As we all know, UI test is very important for the application development. It will ensure our application match the functional requirements, and also all the user interface are expected. So the same as the single screen device, you can use Espresso with the UI automator for the application on the Surface Duo device. So you may ask, how do we span or unspan the application? And how do we emulate the fingers to span the app in the test. So I'm going to show you how to do it with the UI device from the UI automator. So firstly, we need to create an instance from the UI device. Then we use the swipe function from the UI device with the coordinate the finger swipe. So here, I'm going to span the app from the left screen to dual screen mode, taking over both of the screen. But you can also do it from the right-hand side. When the app is spanned, you probably want to check whether all your UI elements are expected and whether they are all displayed on the screen. After that, you may need to want to unspan the app. So the same, we're using the swipe function of the UI device with the coordinate of the finger swipe. So here, we unspan the app from the dual screen mode to the left screen. So you can also unspan it to the right screen. When the app is unspanned, you probably need to double check whether all the UI elements on the dual screen are not displayed anymore. So that's how you do the UI test on the application on our Surface Duo device. So that's what we are going to share with you today. Here are some resources you may need to check out after this. So as I keep mentioning, our document, they explained everything there. And we also have the open source code sample for both Java and Kotlin. And we also build hero samples for you to see all the patterns we talk about in the real scenarios. And Surface Duo SDK is our dual screen library. And we also have the emulator to help you out if you haven't got our Surface Duo device. And you can also go to the Surface Duo Tech community to ask us any questions and give us feedback. And we also have the weekly blog post about the development of Surface Duo device. And finally, please follow us on Twitter to get the latest information from us. So thank you for listening. Now is the question time. So if you have more questions or if you want to see more demos, you can join us in the following session. Okay, so now I'm going to read the questions one by one and try to answer it. And Bianca, you can add some more if I don't do it correct. So the first one, how do you handle if the app only allows landscape mode? So actually, we got this question from few companies too. So currently, for the app, we can't restrict it into the one screen or double screen. We always let the user to control the app is spanned or not. So if the app is only in the landscape mode and then it stay in the single screen, it probably would just stay in the center of the screen and have some break between up and bottom. And what's the best way to perform the UI test for this different screen mode? So as I just showed you, for the UI test, you can use the Espresso with the UI automator. And so you can use it for the different screen modes. And then Bianca, do you want to add something about this?
No, just one mention that there is a workshop that we're having afterwards, and you can also see like live coding, the UI tests, and the actual best practices.
Okay. And then, so the last question is, are the drag and drop functionality provided by the Surface Duo SDK? So currently, the drag and drop functionality Bianca just showed, we don't use any specific API built by us. We just use the standard Android API to do this. but we have the sample which showcase the drag and drop on our website. So if you are interested in this part, you can go to our website to check out the samples. It shows you how to do it with the Android API. So I think that's it. Okay, so thank you for listening. And then once again, we have some follow sessions after this, and go and check it out. Thank you.
Thank you.